Thank you for joining me. I'm going to try to make this tutorial quick as possible, but it involves quite a few steps. It is my pretzel. This is the written version, and tomorrow sometime I'll be putting it up in the description, so if it's a day after I posted this, you'll probably be able to find it there. So let's get started. The written description will actually show you a few different sizes of pretzel that you can make, and then at the end of it I also explain how to do the chocolate if you would like to do the chocolate. So let's get started. I went ahead and I took ecru from Primo, and you condition it, squish it. This has gotten a little bit hard, so I'll squish it again. I usually don't have my nails long. It's not very conducive to clay working, so we'll try our best here. Okay, so I roll it in a ball after it's been conditioned. I have 3 different size balls in the written instructions, so you can decide if you want a large, medium, or small pretzel. And then you roll it out into a snake. And depending on what size you went, how long the snake will be depends on what size ball you rolled. And I have all of those measurements written down in the tutorial too. But this is a good size length for that particular little ball that I rolled. So to make a pretzel, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, but I just make a loop, then I pick it up in my hands, I pinch this area, and I'll twist. So now you have this loveliness. I fold it down over the middle, if you could get it close to the middle as possible. It's a bit of a chunky pretzel here. There we go. So you could kind of shape it a little bit better. Separate it. So there's the pretzel. You could see the general shape. There we go. You could maneuver it a little bit to get the shape a little bit better. This is just a fast tutorial. I show all of these steps in color photos in that written tutorial that is available in the description. I cut off those little edges with the clay blade. And then I will pinch them. I'm pinching it down to the bottom of the pretzel. I'll clean that up here, get rid of that. Okay, so here we go. So let's make our let's make our pretzel look toasty. I have the darker, well, that's actually a medium of the yellows. I'll get a darker one. I like the darker yellow. So we're going to have the dark, kind of an ochre yellow, the palest of the rust colors, and then the darkest of the rust colors. I take my blade and get some dust. I'm sure if you've seen breads, pancakes, waffles, that you've already seen this technique before. And everybody tends to have their own recipe of what they think looks best. I just like having options, so I throw 3 down there right away. A brown could look nice too, but you have to be careful with the brown. So I start with yellow. The yellow ochre kind of color. Here, I'll put it in my hand so you can see it a little bit better. So I will just tap it on. We want it nice and toasty. And I like the yellow color underneath the orange and rust colors when I'm trying to make something look toasty. It goes for my pancakes, it goes for my breads, it goes for my waffles. It actually goes for ice cream cones too. And then here's the back. The back doesn't look as pretty, but it's more of a one-sided thing anyway. This one is larger, so it would be good for a necklace size. There we go. And then I'm going to pick up a smaller paintbrush, and I'll pick up a little bit of the rust. And then I will just choose some places to kind of dust it on, make it look a little bit toasty, like I said before. And I tend to add it kind of like highlights but in reverse. Might get a little up there somewhere. And then I'll go around a little bit, get a little bit of the rest in the other areas. But I like the darkest to be kind of in one direction. So since I have the darkest there, I'll just add a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more up here in the corner. Here. Okay, so there we go. Now in my actual tutorial for the more rock salt look, I show you taking a toothpick and adding little dots of TLS on, and then we add something called Carrara Marble glitter, and it is from Martha Stewart, and it's a glitter that has some clear to it, iridescent and white. I use it for sugar cookies and also for salt, when the salt's supposed to be small. So for larger areas, dots, I would do that. But for the smaller pretzels, what I like better is to take a little bit of TLS, tap it so it's sticky and gummy, but I'm not going to leave globs on my pretzel, and then very carefully I tap the surface top part of the pretzel, get it nice and tacky. So I'm getting the top tacky without trying to mess up the color too much. And then, let me clean off my fingertips. I will very gently take some of that Carrara Marble glitter and very gently go over the top. The TLS will bake kind of to a matte, but if you just very gingerly sprinkle a little bit on, it doesn't look too over salted. That TLS will bake more matte. It won't be shiny, so you're going to lose the shine that it has now to it. And when it bakes, it will look like there's just a little bit of salt on the top. I like it. So that's how the pretzel looks, and then you would be done and you'd cook it. There we go. But something else that I include in the written tutorial is adding chocolate. Now, you could do this a couple different ways. You could do the pretzel just like we did. If you wanted a completely chocolate-covered pretzel, then you could just you could condition the burnt umber like you do for regular dark chocolate, and you could just do what we did with the ecru, but with the chocolate. There's no need to paint it for a toasty look, since it's supposed to be covered in chocolate. And you can leave it like that, or you could drizzle a separate color on it. So, to show you this really quick, I'm trying to not waste too much of your time here. Let's grab the second paper I have back here. Okay, so here you can see a few globs of TLS on a paper. For white chocolate, you condition white primo. Since I have the colors on my hands, you do want to make sure you have clean hands with this. I have the pastels in my hand, so it's turning a bit yellow, but I'm doing this just for demonstration purposes right now. and not making a batch. But I tend to tear it up in little pieces or cut it up in little pieces. And then you pound it out. As you do this to a point, once it really starts looking, I'm not even sure what the right word for it is, but it starts getting smashed. It gets a little bit clumpy and goopy in there, but there's a point where it doesn't really look like it's solid clay anymore. And then at that point, you could start going it around a circle like this. I find pounding it flat for quite a while works. Now, I do this for just a couple pieces if I want to do more, and this will eventually get completely smooth the more you go. But I find I have much more control in an enclosed space. What I like is shot glasses. I pour my TLS in the shot glass, not a lot, but I pour some in, and then I grab the white, just like I showed you. I tear it up in pieces, and then I just stir like this, and I twist the shot glass in my hands, and I just keep on moving this tool. This tool is a clay tool. I got it at a craft store, and I use just the end of it. And that's what I'm using in the shot glass too, just my clay part came out. And I really like it for this. It has a nice flat bottom, so it makes it great for pounding that clay into the TLS. But I go against the very edge, and it helps smooth it out. It's hard for you to see in there, but when I go against the edge, it helps break up the clay a little better. It takes a while sometimes. Now, to cover your pretzels with chocolate, you don't want it quite this thick. You can add a little bit more TLS, but what I like it this thick for, I'll show you real quick. Let me show you on the little pretzel I just finished without putting it in the oven. Now, what I do, this one will be thinner here, but to paint this on, looks like it's still pretty clumpy, but you want it to be somewhat smooth and not stringy. The more clay you add, it becomes stringy. And I'll show you the difference as soon as I have this mixed up. It's still not completely smooth, but I wanted to show you about the right consistency for the liquid clay to make it like the dark chocolate color. The dark chocolate color isn't stringy. And what I would do is I would take a toothpick and then I like it just covering part of the pretzel, so I go at a diagonal and I just move it around and put it on. Ideally, I would wait a little bit longer with mixing it. There's still a few clumps in here, but this is just trying to show you quickly rather than making one for sale. So I would go on the front, and I do the same thing on the back, cover the pretzel the way I want it, and then I'd bake it. After baking it, I would add a contrast color for the other chocolate. In this case, I had a dark chocolate with a white chocolate drizzle. This case, it would be a white chocolate with a dark chocolate drizzle. But here, let me show you. The drizzle part is, this one's much thicker, and this is what I'm talking about it being stringy. right here. So you see that when you bring it out, it definitely, it will carry long strings with it for a while. Then what you do, if you were to cover it in chocolate or not, a solid chocolate, you would just bring it back and forth for the chocolate drizzle. It definitely looks more impressive when you have it on a high contrast, like the dark chocolate with the white, or the white chocolate with a dark drizzle. Both of those look really pretty, and I believe I have a couple pictures of those in the written tutorial as well. I was just wanting to make this a quick, fast tutorial for you, which isn't very fast at 15 minutes. But it requires 3 baking times if you're doing the chocolate, just once if it's a regular pretzel. And I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you want me making more food tutorials, make sure to subscribe or leave comments that you'd like to see more. Thank you.